May you find happiness and peace, and may your home stand the test of time.
Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mary. Today I'll be reacting to progressive student was left speechless on sex. Okay, what he said was brilliant. This video is about Jordan Peterson. So without further ado, let's get started.
So my question is, as a redeemed progressive, what is the key to empowering men in the Me Too age while maintaining healthy boundaries and strong behavioural expectations?
We've had relatively reliable birth control since 1960. Okay, that's not very long. And we underestimate the unbelievable technological triumph of birth control. It's the hydrogen bomb, it's the transistor, like it's a major league transformation in human interaction. Women are now free from involuntary reproduction. That's never been the case in the entire history of the planet. Okay, we don't know exactly what to do about that. Okay, so the first idea in the 60s was, hell, let's party. And you know, you could see why. It's like, what the rules for not engaging in promiscuous sexual intercourse seemed to have vanished. So we had a couple of decades of experimentation. It's like, well, how'd that go? Little hard on the family, I would say. That's not so good for kids. AIDS, that wasn't a plus. Could have killed us all. And it mutated, particularly to take advantage of promiscuous sex, because viruses are very tricky things. So it turns out that sex is a little bit more complicated than we thought. Well, it actually turns out that it's a lot more complicated than we think. Okay, and now it's 50, 60 years later, and we're trying to sort this out. It's like, well, when is it okay to have sex? Exactly. And when is it not okay to have sex? And what does it mean that it's okay? And what does consent mean? And the answer to that is, well, we never used to have to think these things through, because the rule was don't have sex until you get married. That was the rule. Now that isn't the rule. Okay, so what's the rule? Well, we're not having a conversation about the rule. We're waiting till someone does something that seems like it might be untoward and then mobbing them and trying to extract the rule out that way. And it's not a very effective way of doing it. You know, you want to decrease campus rape? That's easy. Get rid of alcohol. No one has that conversation. It's like, I did my PhD work on alcohol. 50% of the people who are murdered are drunk, and 50% of the people who kill them are drunk. And almost all the date rape situations are consequences of excess intoxication. But yet there's a party culture on campuses, and anything goes. And you also have this strange thing, especially on the radical left, which is unbelievably paradoxical, where absolutely every form of sexual expression imaginable is 100% permissible because sex is fine, but it's so dangerous that while you're dancing with someone at a Princeton mixer, you have to ask them 2 or 3 times if it's okay for you to continue. And that's actually the case, by the way. I'm not making that up. It's like, well, both of those things can't be true. Now, what's happening, I think, on the Me Too end of things and the affirmative consent end of things is the old sexual taboos are reasserting themselves. The idea that we can extract sex out from emotional intimacy, and especially emotional intimacy, I would say, psychological intimacy, maybe even from long-term relationship, I don't believe it's a tenable idea. I don't think we can do it. And a lot of what we're seeing is the backlash against that. It's like, well, I feel used. You know, because one of the things that's happening on the really radical end of the anti-sexual abuse movement is the idea that, well, if you have intercourse with someone and then you regret it the next day, that's evidence that it wasn't consensual. Well, it is, in a sense, evidence that it wasn't consensual, because it's evidence that you didn't bloody well think it through, right? It was good for last night, but it's not good for today. It's not very wise. the question is, well, what constitutes consent? And we need to have a very serious conversation about that. Like, under what circumstances is it acceptable to give consent? But we're not mature enough to have that conversation. We want it both ways.
Okay, so guys, I love the way this video is going because, you know, more of, you know, as Pedersen is trying to explain things to the lady, he's also in his view what he thinks the society has been quiet about. You see, let's say for instance, before laws are being passed, they have to make sure someone is a scapegoat, you know, so that, let's say, the mistake of that person won't repeat itself. Let's say for instance, we get a drunk driver, or a drunk driver hits someone, and in the process the person died. You see, now they will bring out laws that will prevent you from drinking and driving. Why don't you, you know, put those laws before that action take place? Because now we have to maybe lose someone, or be someone have to be a victim, you know, of maybe road accident before you know that yes, we have to put these laws, which is not supposed to be so. Because at least so long as people can drive, as long as they can drive, you have to put in laws or measures that will prevent, you know, the pedestrians on the road and also other road users from, you know, getting hurt. You have to put on, you know, measures that will prevent them from getting hurt. You don't just wait for things to go wrong, then you try to fix it. Nah, it does not really work that way. And also he talks about consent. He said, when is it appropriate, or when do you feel yes, you accept something, let's say something of as sensitive as sex, you know, when do you think you are giving your consent? Is it when you wake up the next day and you feel happy about what happened the previous day, or you wake up the next day and you feel sad about what happened the previous day? You know, you can have sex with someone, you see, and both of you can be cool, and the next day you feel like, nah, I regret this. But why doing it, you feel happy, you feel that was what you needed at that particular time. So when he asks the question, when is the concept, like when you withdraw the line that this is defined as concept? Well, let's just continue, guys, because I feel and I know he has a whole lot in stock. So let's just watch and keep on enjoying this video.
We want to be able to do whatever we want, with whoever we want, whenever we want, with no consequences, and we want there never to be any trouble about consent. It's like, well, no, that's not going to happen. I don't think that sex works very well outside of committed relationships. I don't think there's any evidence that it does. There's a strong proclivity across cultures for the enforcement, social enforcement of long-term monogamy. And there's reasons for that. And I think you deviate from that at your peril. So now, if you want to deviate from that, there's all sorts of reasons to do it. And I can understand why people are interested in adventure and all of that. But, you know, my sense also as a clinician is, you know, you only really get to try out about 5 people in your life. You have to make a decision pretty damn quick. You know, like between 20 and 30, there's a lot of things to get straight, and long-term mate is usually one of them. And most of the time, people should be more careful with their sexual behavior when they're young, especially when they're drunk, than they are.
That's
and
true.
I just think it's so interesting that all of the taboo reconstruction is coming from the radical left. It's not what you'd expect at all. You'd think it'd be the damn right-wing Christians complaining about, you know, sexual immorality. It's like, no, it's the radical lefties, you know. You have to have signed consent before making any physical move. And then that's so what? Really?
True.
Who thought that up? That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Do you know how awkward that would be? You know, you're supposed to be able to do a little bit of nonverbal reading, right? I mean, that's part of romance. You don't see it. You ever see a movie where the 2 people who are dating exchange consent notes? Like, that doesn't happen. So it's an unrealistic solution. But I think the real solution is that despite the fact that we have reliable birth control, we're going to have to relearn what the acceptable rules of propriety are with regards to sexual relationships. One of the things I often tell my young clients is don't do anything physically with anyone that you wouldn't talk to them about. Because if you're too damn
true.
embarrassed to talk about it, well, maybe it's a little premature in the relationship to actually do it. And then there's harm in it. You know, there's emotional harm in it on both parties. There's the cheapening of both parties. So it's going to take us a long time to sort this out. But hopefully we can do it in a serious manner, and it won't be merely a matter of mobbing those who seem to have made an error. So,
guys, this is beautiful. You know, this is why I love this man so much. You know, Pedersen, he has a way of, you know, tackling questions when, you know, asked, especially sensitive question like this. You see, he's asking, is it that two parties need to sign it down, you know, write a contract to show that yes, you agree for me to have sex with you? Then when you do that, you've taken the emotion out of it, you know, because at that particular state where you want to have sex, now you're no longer thinking straight, because yeah, the both of you feel for it. So long as the both of you agree to do it, then there is concept. But if you need to write it down, okay, at this particular day we both decided to do this, then you're taking the fun away from it. You see, yes, I know when it comes to religion wise, it is being preached everywhere that, okay, for you to be able to have sex with a lady or a guy, you guys need to be married. You see, but what is happening nowadays is different from that, because you can be in love with someone and it will happen. You see, so you won't say, okay, because of this I'm not married now. You have to be feeling guilt within you, which yeah, so it happens sometimes, but we sometimes don't take control of our body. Sometimes things happen. The only thing is, be proud of what you do. If you know that the next day you won't be proud of what you just did or what you did the previous day, then don't do it. Or at least get to know the person more. You see, because when you know the person more, you understand the person, you know that yes, this is really who I want to be with. I don't think you have any issue, you know, thinking about it the next day, because it has happened. That is what the both of you felt at that particular time. You see, because I see, especially ladies in my country, you know, when you have sex, or when a guy has sex with a lady and maybe they just met for the first time and it happened, they feel a little bit, you know, on the edge, a little bit loose or cheap, which is not supposed to be so. But because of the society we find ourselves in, they are already telling you every day that, oh, when you have sex with someone on the first date, it makes you look cheap and the rest of them. Then you see, you kill the self-esteem of that lady simply because of what happened. But as at that time, that was what she felt like having. And you know, I feel they should be teaching more of, you know, sex in our schools, so that at least you feel proud of what you did or what you're about to do. Because yeah, like what he said, there are preventive measures to, you know, at least aside from preventing what is it called, pregnancy, you can also save yourself from contacting diseases, because that is one thing that people are afraid of. One, we are all afraid of contacting disease that will, you know, end our life. And also another thing is bringing children to the world when we are not ready. So that's why preventive measures are there every day for you to take to prevent such from happening. Anyway, we still keep on advising people, if you want to have sex, be ready for, you know, whatever come after it. I love Pedersen so much, and I love his style of teaching and how in depth he went about this. It was so enjoyable and nice, guys. Well, let me know what you think in the comment section. If it is the first time visiting my channel, click on the subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and remember, bless.